Hi everyone, Niklas Seidloff here from IBM and OpenNTF. In this video I'm going to demonstrate all projects that have been submitted for the second XPages OpenNTF development contest. The contest has been sponsored again by the German IBM business partner We4IT. In total we've received 23 submissions from 17 contributors, including 5 first-time contributors. To find out more about the contest, you can go to contest.opentf.org. For example, this page describes the awards and recognition. The one winner and the 2 finalists can all choose between an iPad 2, an iPhone, or an Amazon voucher for $800, and the winner will additionally also get a free Lotusphere ticket for 2012. There's another page, xpages.info/contest, that lists all the 23 submissions with links to the projects, screenshots, as well as mini videos. Mark Hughes has contributed a mobile application to OpenNTF that allows you to view, edit, and create your Lotus Notes to-dos even while you're offline. And this works without having to change your template, your mail template. So here's a mailbox with a couple of sample to-dos in there, and these same 5 entries I can see now here in my mobile application. I can filter these tasks here, let's say by category, and I pick the category travel. There's only one document in there. I can open it. At the top there's the description, then the priority, the status, start and end date, category, as well as attachments here at the bottom, and you can also add comments. Do this and that first, and then I can save it. And actually let me also change the priority to medium, and I save it. And now when I go back to the notes client and I refresh the view, I can see here my tasks that I just changed to the priority medium, and I added this comment here. Now the nice thing about this application is that it also works offline. So just to show that, so this is here my local database, and here are the 5 to-dos in there. Ferhat Bulut has contributed a mobile app called Mobile Admin. This app allows you to invoke agents on Domino service remotely, as well as to invoke server console commands. So let's take a look. This is the mobile application here, and first of all it comes with a custom login dialog. So I entered my credentials and now I can log in. And this is the home page. I can choose whether I want to invoke agents or commands, and I can also mark agents and commands as favorites so that it's easier to invoke them later. So first of all I want to invoke a command. Can choose the server here. I have only one. And let me just invoke the command help, and here's where I can choose whether to add this command to my favorites or not. And then I simply say run, and you can see in the console that this command was invoked, and this is the output of this command. Now next thing I want to do is I want to run an agent. So I say run agent, and first of all I need to choose the database. And in order to do that, I do a full text search on the catalog. And here are my 2 databases containing the word X snippets. So I choose this one. And here are my 2 scheduled agents. And I can now, or 2 agents, and here I can invoke this one now. Again, I can define whether I want to add it to my favorites. And there's another feature. I can send the console logs via email to the defined person, and this happens on a scheduled basis every 5 minutes. So now I say run agent, and here again in the console you can see that this agent was invoked, and here's the result. And then just the last thing I wanted to show, so these are the favorite commands. This is the help command that I just invoked, and here's another one. David Marco has developed a mobile application that he calls Mobile Contacts and Reminders. But the application can actually do more. It also gives you access to email and calendar. So here is it running in my Safari desktop browser. There are essentially 4 areas: contacts, reminders, email, and calendar. And contacts and reminders also support offline. So let's start with contacts. And the contacts are stored in a separate nodes database, and you can have two different types of contacts for companies and for people. So here's the list of people sorted alphabetically. So let's pick H, and then you get the people starting with H, and you can filter it further by just typing here. And there's also full text search support. So let's search for myself again, and here it is. The same functionality exists also for companies. Now let's create a new person. So give it a last name. Test user. Actually, I created one already, so let's say user 2. And then when I select the company, I get this other dialog here where I can pick the companies that I've already created, and it fills out automatically that information. In this case, the address and the full name. And you can also launch into Google Maps into the native application, which obviously doesn't work here in my browser now, but it does work on the smartphones. So once we have done that, we can now say save document, and it tells us the document was created successfully. And when we navigate again, no, that was the wrong one. When we navigate to the people, we have these two users now, our new user 2. So then the next thing I want to demonstrate here is the offline capability. So I can mark a document and define that I want to have it available when I'm offline. So I've done this now, and I can navigate back to the home page. Now when I go to the offline section, you can actually see the people that I have available here offline. And I can update my local database by pressing this button here, and it initiates the synchronization. The same synchronization you can also initiate directly here from the home page. And then it tells you that it has just been synchronized. So that's contacts. The second part are reminders. So there are a couple of different views here. The first one shows the current reminders. In this case, I've only one, prepare presentation. And what I want to do next is create another reminder. So I type in the subject, set up new notebook, and I define a date. So let's say 10 o'clock. And then I save it. And what happens is that two documents are created, one in my calendar application and one in this database that comes with the project. So real quick, this is the notes client. Here's the document that I just created in this database. And then I can also open my calendar, and I see the reminder in here as well. Set up new notebook. The same offline functionality exists also for reminders, as I demonstrated for contacts. And one other feature I wanted to demonstrate is this nice calendar view here, which displays here my reminders in my calendar, and I can choose between the monthly view and the weekly view. The third part is email. You can read your sent emails, so this is my actual sent folder from my mailbox, and you can read incoming emails. And I had to create here some demo data, which is why the same mail shows up so many times. But I can open these emails here and can read them. And I also can invoke the most typical actions: reply, forward, or delete. So let's reply to this one here. Now I can choose whether I want to reply without history, with history, and attachments. Can enter my body, and I can also upload or attach files. But before I do that, I wanted to show you one other nice feature, which is this name picker. So I can choose whether I want to choose from my public address book or private address book. And here I simply enter hi, and then I have my own user here. And once I've done that, I can select it, and it was copied here to the CC field. So once we are done with that, I can send that email, and I get this notification. And now when I go back into my sent folder, I see my new email right here. The last part is calendar. From here, from this application, I can view my calendar entries, and for the purpose of this demo, I just have created 4 entries here. And this, for example, is the one we created earlier, the reminder set up new notebook. Mark Hughes has contributed a mobile application to display contact information on mobile devices on iOS and Android. And it doesn't do that only when you're online, but it even synchronizes the data down to the device so that users can access this application while they are offline. And also from an end user perspective, the performance is really good because all the data is on that device. So let me show how this application actually works. This is the look and feel of the application. I'm using here a simple iPhone simulator. And here I have a list of users whose first name start with a T. I can also switch to last name. In this case, there are no records, but here are the users with the T. I can navigate down and up, and I can open entries, I can navigate back, etc. So now, in order to prove this is data that is actually read from the device, I open here the development tools. And here you see the local database, SQL database with a list of entries, and each entry represents here a notes document with a notes unique ID. Right now I have 39. So now I want to navigate to another list here, an empty list where I don't have records, and I go into my notes client and create another user. Let's say F user. Save it and open it again. Here it is. Now we go to F, and here's the new user, and also there is a new entry right here in the SQL database. So in addition to that, there's a couple of other functionality that I want to demonstrate here, but since I have some issues with my simulator, I'm using here simply Safari. So there's another nice control here which allows you to go to other views and sort differently by alphabetically. And also there's a search functionality. So right here I can say test, let's say, and search, and then I get my test users. The Navigator has disappeared since I now see the search results, and in order to set that back or reset that, I can simply drag this down and release it, and then I get my Navigator back, and I'm here in one of the views. Mariusz Jakubowski has contributed a social application called Lotus People. The application helps customers to find technical experts with certain skills. So let's take a look. This is the entry point of the application, and first of all you can define in which country you're looking for experts, let's say Poland. Then you can pick one of the registered people here and you can open their profiles. And as you can see here, there's an integration with LinkedIn pointing to the public profile, and there is an integration with Google Maps to show the location of that person. Now I can also register here as new user. Let's say Niklas Heidloff, and then my email address and password, location, and the nice thing here is the auto lookup. So when I say Paderborn, I get Paderborn displayed here. I can enter my website, and I can define my public LinkedIn profile. So I just copy this and enter it here. In skills I say XPages. Then I submit, and now when I go to Germany I see my profile right here. Henning Schmidt has developed a couple of Twitter controls that can easily be used in custom XPages applications, both desktop applications as well as mobile apps. So here is a sample desktop application using these controls, or some of these controls. Control to create new tweets, and then other controls that display various other tweets. Before you can use this the first time, you need to run through some setup where essentially tokens are exchanged between XPages, the XPages application, and Twitter. So essentially the end users need to grant the XPages application permission to access Twitter on their behalf. And since I've already done that, I don't have to do that again, since these tokens are stored in an NSF. Now let me switch to Designer to show how to use or reuse these controls in your own applications. The controls show up here in the palette as well as under Custom Controls. This is my test page, and here's my control to create new tweets, the one with messages from my friends, mentions, as well as direct messages. In addition to the desktop browser UI, there is also a mobile application, or to be more precise, two different versions of a mobile application. This one here, the browser in the right column, uses Dojo, and the one here in the left column uses jQuery Mobile. So, and as on the desktop, you can browse through your tweets very easily, and the same works here using jQuery. And in addition to reading tweets, you can also compose new tweets right from here. Tim Trapconi has developed an application called Watercooler, which is a persistent group chat application. And here's a quick demo. Under active chats, I find all the chats that I'm allowed to see and participate. I can archive chats, and then they show up here. And I can also do a full text search, let's say for the word welcome. And then I find this entry here that I can open. In addition to that, I can also obviously create new chats. So I switch over here to my local deployment, and I choose a topic here. Let's say OpenNTF Chat 5, and I want to make it as public so that other people can read it, anonymous people can read it and also search for it. So I say start chatting, and then here in the right column I see all the people in this chat, which is only me at this point. And then I can say hi, and when I click enter, the message is sent through my server and shows up here. And I can also change the formatting. So let's say I mark this text here as bold, and I choose another color. And I can also insert emoticons, let's say this one here, and then again I send it, and it shows up right here. Another quick demo where I try to simulate two different users is this, or are these two browsers here. So just to show you how quick it is, so I say testing again, and then when I click OK, it shows up on both of these in both of these browsers. And also the same application works on iPad. So let me scroll down here, and then from iPad, and I click enter, and it shows up here and on my other browsers. Michael McGarrell has contributed an application called Event Signup. The application allows describing events, and it allows end users to self-register. So let's take a look. This is the application, and in order to register as typical user, I can now type in my information here, email, Twitter ID, and then click register. And now the second user has been added here to this list. Now as an admin of this site, I can also change the text and the content that is displayed here in these different tabs. I can just click here on Edit Pages Content, and then I use the CK editor to define the content. I can also define view site settings, like the name of the site, as well as whether I want to activate the registration emails. In addition to the web interface, there's also a mobile interface that you can see here, where the content shows up, and again you can self-register directly from here. Lars Buntrock has developed a mobile navigator. The mobile navigator can be your entry point to find the business applications relevant for you. Since it's web-based, it works on all platforms and devices. So let's take a look. Here is the mobile application, and here's a notes database where you can centrally define your different applications and databases. In this example, I've done this for my to-do database from Mark Hughes. So the same databases you can see now here in the mobile application. There's two views. One is all databases and the other one is my favorites. So then I can open these different categories here and or applications and choose the databases I want to open, like in this case iTanner, and I can also mark them as my personal favorites. So now that I've done this, it should show up here. Here it is. Michael McGarrell has contributed an application called Event Signup. The application allows describing events and it allows end users to self-register. So let's take a look. This is the application, and in order to register as typical user, I can now type in my information here, email, Twitter ID, and then click register. And now the second user has been added here to this list. Now as an admin of this site, I can also change the text and the content that is displayed here in these different tabs. I can just click here on edit pages content, and then I use the CK editor to define the content. I can also define view site settings, like the name of the site, as well as whether I want to activate the registration emails. In addition to the web interface, there's also a mobile interface that you can see here, where the content shows up, and again you can self-register directly from here. Andrew Luda has added a mobile interface for his domino defect project on OpenNTF. Here is the web user interface, which is based on one UI, and here is the mobile application. You can navigate to the database logs, you can navigate down here, get more entries. There's also search functionality available, the same for server logs. You can access the server profiles, which I'm going to do in a second. Summary reports can be opened. You can manage user credentials, you can define what anonymous users can do, and you can create new server profiles. So what I want to do now is to modify an existing server profile, and this list here is the same list that you can see here in the web application. Now I'm going to open this Thunderstruck server or profile, and the same information that you see here in the web client can also be is also displayed now here in the mobile application. And now I can edit this entry here, and let's say I want to turn on error logging, and I save it. And now when I refresh this page here, the error logging should be turned on as well. There it is. Wai-Heng Shen has implemented a mobile social application called BoxShare. It's essentially a mashup of Facebook and Dropbox. Smartphone users can post links to their public files on Dropbox to Facebook, and then vice versa, other smartphone users can see these posted links and download the files on their smartphones. So let me show you how this works. Here's the application, and it has essentially two parts. At the top there is a list of links which are read from Facebook, and at the bottom there's a list of files from Dropbox. So these three files are the same ones that I have here in my public folder on Dropbox. And in the middle there's just the picture that is read from Facebook. So what I can do now is I can click on one of these files to post a link to Facebook. Now it tells me that the link has been posted, and if I wait a second, the page should be updated with that second link which was read from Facebook. Now let me show you where this shows up. This is my test application on Facebook, and Facebook is really used as a store here for the shared links. Now this second one here is the one that was just posted 18 seconds ago, and I can now open the file from within Facebook. So then vice versa, other users can now click on one of these files to download the file to their public Dropbox folder. Since this doesn't work here in my simulator, I use Firefox to demonstrate that. So when I click on one of these files here now, the file is actually put into my Dropbox folder, which is here. So since this file already existed, a copy has been created, and when I go back to Dropbox and do a refresh, that file shows up here as well. Shinton Perrick has shared an application on OpenNTF that he calls Multilingual Customer Support System. The best way to describe it is to actually demonstrate it. So let's assume I'm a German customer who speaks German and I have a support question and I have already a support number, let's say 888. So now I can log in, which brings up this chat window essentially. So here it is. And now I can say hello and send that message. So now let me open a second window here, which is the window of the support person. So I log in here as administrator, and now I can see all the open chats here, and the one that we just created is this 888. So I can open it, and the support person can see that same chat. However, since that person only talks English, it needs to be translated. So now I can choose here to translate it into any language I want. So let's say I want to translate it from German to English and say translate. And then I see the translation right here. And I can say, how can I help? And send the message back. So the message comes up here, and now I need to translate it here into German, English to German, and I see the translation. And now let me write, mein Drucker druckt nicht, and again send it off. And there it is, and again I can translate it. Paul Withers has developed a new mobile application for his XPages help application. This is the web-based interface. Essentially, you have a couple of different views here: contents, index, search results, personal bookmarks, and since I'm logged in as admin, also the ability to change the setup. Then you can switch between the documents here using the outline control, and for each document you have a couple of actions. You can remove it. Since I'm logged in as admin, I can also edit it. And I can add it to my personal bookmarks, and since I've already done it in this case, I can remove it again from my bookmarks. So now this is the new mobile application. These are the four views here again. I can open here the contents, and this is the document that I just displayed in the web UI, XPages help application introduction. Can scroll through it. And the same document I bookmarked, so it should show up here under introduction, and then again we can see the same document. In addition to that, there are also other views, the index view, this one here. Let me just open one of the documents, and you can also do full text searches, let's say notes, release notes, and then you get all the documents containing the word notes. Frederick Norling has implemented a control that integrates a rich text editor called TinyMCE, which is a separate open source project, and one of the strengths of it is that it also runs on iOS. Here's a quick example. This is a notes document with 3 rich text fields. You can have a simple editor, advanced editor with all the icons, and you can also have a custom editor where you pass in configuration which icons to show. Here is the control in Designer. It's one control with these 3 fields. These are the 3 types, and if you define custom, you can pass in your custom configuration right here. Ulrich Krause has contributed a control to display activities of a specific user from Google+. So this is my Google+ account, and here are some entries that I posted. And I can see now the same entries here on my X page, and the entries are rotated, as you can see. Now, in order to use that, you first of all need a key that you can get from google.com, and the documentation describes how to do that. And then all you need to do is go in Designer, drag and drop the custom control CC Google Plus activity onto your X page, and then define a couple of parameters, most importantly the API key and the ID of the user whose entries you want to display. And then there are some more optional attributes that you can define to change the behavior and the look and feel of the control. Patrick Quinton has shared a custom control called Flickr Bomb in order to display pictures from Flickr. It's called Flickr Bomb since it uses a jQuery plugin called Flickr Bomb. And here's how it can look like. The custom control is used 3 times on this page. Here, the first one, we search for the term Lotusphere. Second one, we search for the term OpenNTF, and at the bottom, we search for IBM. You get the first picture that is found by default, but you can also click on this icon and choose any other icon you want. So let's see how this looks like in Designer. There's only one custom control, CC pick, and in here you can define the sizes as well as the search string. Patrick Quinton submitted a tweet quote control for the contest. Here's how it looks like. It displays quotes from Twitter, and here's the custom control, tweet quote simple, and you can define some styling information as well as a phrase you want to search for. Ulrich Krause has contributed an XPages control to display pictures from Flickr. So here's how it looks like. This is the control. It displays right now one picture. You can navigate back and forth, and as you notice, it's very fast because the pictures are preloaded. And you can also start a slideshow. Okay, also you can click on these pictures and open them on the Flickr page. Now the way this works is that you need to drag and drop a custom control called CC Flickr Slideshow onto your X page, and then you need to define your API key that you get when you register an application on Flickr.com. And then there are different ways to define what pictures to display. In this case, we display the pictures tagged by the word Lotusphere. And you can also do a full text search. You can define the sort criteria, etc. You can define whether you want to loop through the pictures or not, the interval, the sizes of the images or the control, whether or not you want to have a link, etc. Frederick Norling has built a flatter button control to pay bloggers and other authors in the internet. Here's a quick example. There are 2 different types of buttons, the compact version right here and the normal version, and the same control can also be used within views. These are 2 documents in a view. So let's take a quick look at Designer. Here's the flatter button control with a couple of properties, and again the same control can also be used here within a data table and repeat control, etc. David Marco has developed a mobile app that he calls Mobile Calendar Application Skeleton. It's a mobile app that displays weekly and monthly calendar views on mobile devices. It uses a jQuery plugin called Full Calendar, and here's how it looks like in the simulator. For demo purposes, there is a home page where you can choose between your personal calendar and a demo calendar. So let me open the demo calendar. I can now switch between the view by month and by week, and here I can select different months. I can also obviously rotate to landscape to have a little bit more space. I can scroll down, and again I can switch to the weekly view. There's also a way to display the personal calendar, which I haven't configured, but here's a screenshot. Frederick Norling has contributed a QR code custom control. The control uses a service provided by goqr.me. Here's a quick example. This is the QR code of an URL, And here's how it looks like in Designer. There's one custom control, and all you need to do is to define the size and the URL. Frank van der Linden has implemented a new version of his RSS feed XPage control. The new version works now on 8.5.2 and 8.5.3, and it also supports Atom and geolocation. Additionally, there's a new mobile interface. So here's the desktop version, and here is the mobile interface. It's the same feed, the feed from xpages.info, and you can navigate through these different entries here. You can expand them, and you can open the actual entries.